Welcome to Hilary Emmanuel Ministries, where faith meets power, purity and prosperity, and breakthroughs are born. At Diadem, we equip you with bold prayers, life-transforming teachings, and spiritual strategies to overcome every challenge life throws your way. Join us as we dive into God's Word, experience His presence like never before, and walk in His purpose for our lives. If you're in London, we invite you to fellowship with us in person at Diadem, 4 Pegamoy Road, N18 2NG. Don't forget to subscribe now and let's grow in faith together.
Brethren, since we started this program, When Kings Go to Battle, we have been dealing with so many things. We've been touching a lot of things. We've been talking about when God is not happy with man, and when God brings his judgment and destruction upon man, and what God does to the wicked, and all those things, and how God will protect his own children. But that's not the end of the story. That's not where it ends. Remember that there are people who are the children of God. In the midst of those judgments, in the midst of calamity, in the midst of disaster, in the midst of all the things happening on earth, remember that children of God are also in that earth. Remember that children of God have destinies to fulfill. And they cannot wait and fold their hands and say, well, we can't do anything now until the judgment of the sinners is complete. No. Normally what God will do is that while he's executing vengeance and punishment upon the wicked, he's still dealing kindly with his own children. He's still fulfilling their destinies, performing his promises, lifting them up, fulfilling his promises and every other thing he has said in their lives. God will still continue to bless his own children, even in the midst of trouble, even in the midst of judgment. And that's the way God does it all through. If you look at the scriptures, you will see that even in the midst of problems and judgment and calamities, God will still be dealing kindly with his own children. And we are going into a new year. And that's why I want to talk to you today, because we have some prayers to pray. Very serious prayers. I want to talk to you on what I call raised from the dunghill to the throne. Raised from the dunghill to the throne. And when we begin to talk about the dunghills of life, it means to be nobody. Just literally like that way. Not to be reckoned among the great and the mighty of the earth. Not to be prominent. Not to be occupying any serious position in life. That's to mean the person is at the dunghill level of life. And do you know that even in the midst of trouble, do you know that even in the midst of problems and judgments, that God can raise his own children from that dunghill to the place of prominence? He can lift his own children up. Actually, it's while he's executing judgment, while he's executing vengeance upon his enemies, that's when he begins to deal kindly with his own children. Look at 1 Samuel chapter 2. 1 Samuel chapter 2. Look at verse 1. And Hannah prayed. It was a prayer. It was a prayer. And whether how much of a prayer it is a different issue of its own. Because if you listen to the wordings of the prayer, it's so strange. Now let's look at the prayers that Hannah prayed. And she said, my heart rejoiceth in the Lord. Thank God our hearts are rejoicing in our God. He said, my horn is exalted in the Lord. He said, my mouth is enlarged over my enemies, because I rejoice in thy salvation. We know the story of Hannah very well. The Bible tells us that she was married to a man. It was a polygamous home. There were 2 wives. The other wife was Peninnah, but she had no child. And the other woman had children. And the Bible said that the other woman was tormenting her with that situation, with that problem. And each year they will go to the house of God, where the temple of God was in Shiloh, to worship and do other things. And the woman, obviously, you know how women can be very kind. And she was tormenting her. The Bible said that she made her life miserable. And then she decided to pray and cry to God. And God answered her prayers and gave her a child. And she came to fulfill her vow and dropped the child for God. And that was when she prayed this prayer. He said, God has enlarged her mouth. God has made her to laugh over her enemies. God has done all these things for her. Look at verse 2. He said, there is none holy as the Lord, for there is none beside thee, neither is there any rock like our God. Verse 3. Talk no more so exceeding proudly. It's supposed to be prayer, so in the prayer she's still talking to her enemy that enough of your boasting. Stop talking proudly as if you control the heavens and the earth. He said, don't talk so exceedingly proudly. Let not arrogancy come out of your mouth. For the Lord is a God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. Verse 4. The bows of the mighty men are broken, and they that stumbled are guided with strength. They that were full have hired out themselves for bread. He said, people that were eating yesterday, people that had money yesterday, people that had everything and they thought they have arrived and they are rich and they are abundant and everything. He said, today, they have started to sell themselves to get bread to put in the mouth. Why was Hannah praying this kind of prayer? Why was she saying this kind of deep? Because Peninnah's children were far older than Samuel. But who know the name of the Peninnah's children? No name, they were nobody. Samuel rose up to become one of the greatest prophets that ever lived in Israel. That's what the mother was referring to here. He said, those who yesterday were celebrating, those who were rejoicing yesterday that there's nobody again like them, he said today they are begging bread. You know, brethren, that the children of Peninnah will be going to Samuel to go and beg bread. They will be going to their younger brother to go and collect bread to eat. That is what she was referring to here. Why? Because something happened. Something happened. God transformed the life of Hannah, changed the life of Hannah, moved her, promoted, raised her. Look at how she said it. Look at how she said. He said, those who have before, they are now begging bread. And they that were hungry ceased. So that the barren had borne 7. Because she later had 5 sons. He said, the barren have now borne 7. And she that has many children is waxed feeble. Maybe that time, obviously this might be a reflection. All those torments of those years, she's giving the back to Peninnah now. Maybe Peninnah at that time, this shaking weight sickness has caught her, and she has become weak. She has become feeble. She can no longer stand up. That's what Hannah is referring to here. Say those that thought that they have arrived, those that thought that the earth rotates around their head. He said now they are waxed feeble. Verse 6. He said the Lord killeth, and the Lord maketh alive. It's the Lord, he can kill, he can make alive. He bringeth down to the grave, and he bringeth up. Verse 7. The Lord maketh poor, and he maketh rich. So he can decide to make any person rich. He can decide to make any person poor. He bringeth low, and he lifteth up. Verse 8. He raiseth up the poor out of the dust, and lifted up the beggar from the dunghill, to set them among princes, to make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillars of the earth are the Lord's, and he has set the world upon them. This language, this prayer of Hannah is a serious message for us. He said that God is the one that can look around the whole earth, because he created the earth. He is the one that set the pillar of the earth. He can look around the whole earth and see those who are at the dunghill of life, and decide to go there and pick them from the dunghill and say, I want you to be sitting with presidents and be mingling with prime ministers and be associating with kings and queens. You will have the number, they will have your number. He said that's what God can do. Those are not the things you can do by yourself, brethren. You can't force it. It's a thing that God does. Look at what she said further. Verse 9. He will keep the feet of his saints, and the wicked shall be silent in darkness. For by strength shall no man prevail. By strength shall no man prevail. There's nothing like, well, I am tired of this dunghill. I want to go and sit with princes. You can't do it by strength. It's the Lord that lifts people up from dunghill and say, go and sit with princes. I shared with you what happened last year. Last year when some charity organization said, well, we want to make sure we share the joy of Christmas with every person. So all those who are sleeping rough on the street, who have no accommodation, we want to make sure that they even enjoy Christmas and have good meal. So the charity went and booked hotel rooms for how many days for them. And then they were supposed to check into the hotel, have hot shower, and then good food and so on, stay maybe 1 or 2 nights, and then at least eat Christmas Day and so on. Isn't that wonderful? To go from the street to hotel room. And so when they got there to check in, the hotel people said, we didn't know it was for people that are on the street you have to book for. They cancel all the booking immediately. They said, because it's not by power. That's what Anna is saying here. By strength shall no man prevail. You know, they must have thought that, well, since this charity has taken it upon himself to do this for us, at least we'll have a good Christmas. We'll sleep on the bed today. But the thing is, never, you can't sleep on the bed. For by strength shall no man prevail. Look at verse 10. The adversaries of the Lord shall be broken in pieces. Out of heaven shall he thunder upon them. The Lord shall judge the ends of the earth, and he shall give strength to his king. I want you to take note of what Anna is praying here. She was talking about judgment. Talking about judgment. Because something was happening then in the land. Eli and his children and his 2 sons, they were not doing well at all. And God was not happy with them. And God has been sending messengers to them to correct their ways, but they couldn't. And so judgment was on the way. Judgment was on the way. Judgment was coming upon Eli and his children. And in the midst of that judgment, something else is happening. Brethren, the judgment of God is upon the earth presently. The world is reeling from the judgment. And while that is going on, something else is happening with the saints of God. You see what Anna is praying here? He said, he will keep the feet of his saints, and the wicked shall be silent in darkness. So look at what follows in that verse 10. He said, the adversaries of the Lord shall be broken in pieces. Out of heaven will he thunder upon them. The Lord shall judge the ends of the earth, and shall give strength to his king, and exalt the horn of his anointed. Verse 11. And Elkanah went to Ramah to his house, and the child did minister unto the Lord before Eli the priest. Verse 12. Now the sons of Eli were the sons of Belial. They knew not the Lord. So you see, 2 events were going on together. 2 events. Why God was, according to the prayer of Hannah, why God was busy dealing with the enemy of his house, preparing how to wipe out the house of Eli, how to destroy his 2 sons. The same time, he was also preparing how to raise people from the dunghill and make them to sit with princes. So these are the way God operates. Simultaneously, he was doing both things together. He was doing both things together. He was planning how to destroy Eli and his family, and also planning how to lift up Samuel to the position, to promote him. And that's exactly what is happening today, brethren. While God is judging and punishing the earth, he's also working on his promises for his children. He's also working on how to fulfill his promises to us. How to lift his children from the bottom of the world, to lift them from the dunghill of life to the position of prominence. So that was what Anna was saying here. And how does God do it? It's a deep mystery. We can't understand it. Because by human reasoning, it's difficult. It's almost impossible. By human calculation, because if you think of the journey from the dunghill down to the throne, it's a journey. It's not an overnight journey. So how God does it and how he does it is a mystery we should not even bother ourselves to try to find out. The most important thing is to find favor before the Lord. Once we find favor, we have favor with the Lord will take care of the rest. Look at Lamentation chapter 4. Lamentation chapter 4. Because, brethren, do you know what is happening now on earth? Do you know what's happening on earth? A lot of people are being demoted on earth. You don't know that? So many people that have businesses, that have companies, that have a big investment, the whole thing is crumbling. Some people are running bankrupt. Do you know in the midst of that, God is raising up people and positioning them for greatness? That's the exchange I'm talking about. So we are the children of God. Look at what the Bible says in Lamentation chapter 4. Look at verse 5. Look at verse 5. They that did feed delicately. You know, people that eat delicately. You know, there are people that eat delicately. You know how people eat delicately? They don't swallow anything anyhow. They want to eat. If you see the whole food, if you go to restaurants, you see they don't go to all kinds of restaurants. There's a special restaurant they go to. And if you see how they serve them, sometimes it is one, you don't know what it is. They just use that thing like stew. They just cross plate like this and cross the other one like this and serve that. You begin to ask, what did they serve here now? Is there food in this thing, or what did they serve here? Maybe they just to lick the thing and go away. They eat delicately. But when you see people that don't eat delicately, they eat massively. So he said, those who eat, who feed delicately, what happened to them? They are now desolate in the streets. How do they come down from that position? From eating delicately down to the streets. They that were brought up in scarlet, that is, the one they said he was born with silver spoon in the mouth. They were brought up in scarlet. The day they were born, all the media, they surround them. Everybody, they were announcing everything, running commentary on their life. He said, those who were brought up in scarlet, what happened to them? They have now embraced the dunghill. That's what Hannah was saying. He said, the Lord brings up and he brings down. He killeth, he maketh alive. Look at verse 6. Why is this so? Why will God make somebody that was brought up in scarlet to now be embracing the dunghill? Verse 6, for the punishment of the iniquity of the daughters of my people. It's because of the punishments for sin. Judgment. He says the punishment is greater than the punishment of the sins of Sodom, that was overthrown as in a moment, and no hand stayed on her. Verse 7, her Nazarites were purer than so. He said before now, they were pure people, holy people. Her Nazarites were pure. No, they were white than milk. They were more ruddy in body than rubies. Their polishing was of sapphire. But what happened now? Verse 8, their visage is blacker than a coal. So their faces have changed. They are not known in the street. Their skin cleaved to their bones. It is withered. It is become like a stick. They that be slain with the sword are better than they that are slain with hunger. So you see the effect of judgment of God. Punishment from God. He says, why this pine away, stricken through for want of the fruit of the field. So this is what, and why God is executing this kind of judgment. On the other hand, to his children and his saints, he said that he will be guiding the feet of his saints, guiding the step of his saints. Isaiah 49. Isaiah 49. I want to believe, God, you are reading the Bible with me. You know, those days when we repented newly, there was no mobile phone. No mobile phone when we repented. So no app, nothing. So that time is physical Bible. You carry your Bible. If they call Bible, you open it. And if you are under a preacher that preaches so fast, if you don't know where the Bible books are, before you finish struggling to open it, they have called another word. And those days, you'll be opening and you'll be making notes, you'll be writing. Do you know why people sleep in the church? They sleep because they are not opening Bible. Assuming you carry Bible on one hand, you carry note on the other hand, you are struggling to open to read along and you are writing notes. Tell me how you are going to sleep. Isaiah 49, look at verse 7. Thus said the Lord, the Redeemer of Israel, and his Holy One, to him whom man despiseth. You know, people who embrace the dunghill, people will despise them. People will despise them. To him whom man despiseth, to him whom the nation abhorreth. Whom the nation abhorreth. You know, people who are in the dunghill of life, every person hates them. No person wants to do anything with them. In fact, I don't know whether you had the argument that was going on in early December. and so on, about the people sleeping rough on the street and so on. And they were calculating that the majority of them are foreigners from Europe and so on. So the government made effort to deport all of them, to send them back before the 1st of January. This news was indicating that they spent 10,000 pounds each to deport all of them. So why? That's what the Bible is saying. He said, to him whom the nation abhorreth. People who are in the dunghill of life, even nations hate them. To a servant of rulers. He said, those who are so low, they are servants. No person wants to have anything to do with them. He said, when God comes into their situation, when God begins to deal with them, look at what will happen. He said, kings shall see them and stand up. Kings shall see them and rise up. You remember what happened to Joseph? You know, that's how he was in Egypt. When they brought him a slave, we just bought a new slave. He's a slave from Canaan, and so on. He's a Hebrew slave, and so all those kind of stories. And Joseph, sir, Joseph, ma, do this one, and they were just sending him up and down, using him anyhow. And finally, he ended up in the dungeon. By the time God lifted him from that dunghill, when he's coming in, Pharaoh will stand up. That's what the Bible is saying. He said to the servant of rulers, he said, kings will see them and they will rise up. Princes also shall worship. Because of who? The Lord that is faithful, and the Holy One of Israel, and he shall choose you to do that to you. He said he will choose you, because he doesn't do it to everybody, brethren. He chooses whom he does it to. He said he will choose you. He will choose you to turn you so much around that kings will see you and they will stand up. Look at what follows. Verse 8. Thus saith the Lord, in acceptable time have I heard thee, and in the day of salvation have I helped thee, and I will preserve thee, and I will give thee for a covenant of the people to establish the earth. He said he will turn you around and make you to become a covenant unto this earth. He will use you to turn this earth around, to cause to inherit the desolate heritages. Verse 9, that thou mayest say to the prisoners, go forth. He said he's doing it for a reason. He's doing it for a purpose. And the reason is that so that you can go and set prisoners free. Can go and set prisoners free. You tell prisoners, go forth. To them that are in darkness, you tell them to show themselves in the light. They shall feed in the ways, and their pastors shall be in all high places. Verse 10. They shall not hunger nor thirst, neither shall the heat nor sun smite them. For he that hath mercy on them shall lead them. Even by the springs of water shall he guide them. And I will make all my mountains a way, and my highways shall be exalted. Verse 13. He says, sing, O heavens, and be joyful, O earth, and break forth into singing, O mountains, for the Lord has comforted his people, and we have mercy upon his afflicted. Verse 14, but Zion said, you know, when we are saying this kind of a thing, one thing that will be running through our mind possibly is, well, in this condition, how is it going to happen? What will God do? I don't even see the way it's going to fulfill. When we are reasoning like that, because God knows our thought. He knows our thought. Look at how he answered that thought. In verse 14, he said, but Zion said, the Lord has forsaken me. Why God was saying, don't worry, I will make you such that when you are coming, kings will stand up. And Zion is saying, the Lord has forsaken me, and my Lord has forgotten me. The Lord now asks them a question in verse 15. Can a woman forget her suckling child? He said that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb. Yet they may even forget. Yet will I not forget thee. Behold, I have graven thee upon the palms of my hand. Thy walls are continually before me. Thy children shall make haste. Thy destroyers and they that made thee shall go forth of thee. He said, we send all the people that have been wasting you away from your life. They will leave you alone. They will go away from you. Verse 23. Verse 23. And kings, be thy nursing father. You know, there are some prophecies, you hear it. You yourself will say, what kind of prophecy is this one? How can kings just come and you say you are looking for nanny, you are looking for people to take care of your children, and it's kings that come to apply. He said, kings shall be thy nursing fathers, and their queen thy nursing mothers. They shall bow down to thee with their face to the earth, and lick up the dust of thy feet, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. You know, when the Lord says anything and he puts that word there, I am the Lord, what is he saying? The power is in my hand to do it. I can do it. I have the means. I have the resources. I have everything it takes to do it. He said, I will do it, and I will show you that I am the Lord. For they shall not be ashamed that wait for me. Have you been waiting for the Lord? Are you sure? He said you will never. So you can see, this is what the Lord does. The same time he's judging the enemies, the same time he's punishing sinners, he doesn't put the destiny of his children on hold. He doesn't put their progress on hold and say, well, my children, you have to wait now until I finish punishing the whole world. No. Doesn't put them on hold. While he's still punishing the world for their wickedness, he's doing what he wants to do for his own children. And what he does for his children is to use that opportunity to lift them up from the dunghill and make them to sit with the kings on the throne. Daniel chapter 5. Daniel chapter 5. Look at verse 13. Daniel chapter 5 verse 13. Then was Daniel brought in before the king. Something happened. Something happened. You know, Daniel, you remember how they got to Babylon? They were captives. Captives at that time, they are slaves. Because you were captured in battle. You were captured in war. Normally, sometimes when they capture them like that, they use them at home for slaves, or they sell them on. Those who want more money, they sell them to other people. So they captured Daniel and his group and took them to Babylon. So you look at them, you say they were captives. Look at how the king described him. So they brought Daniel before the king, and the king spake and said unto Daniel, art thou that Daniel? Because he has heard about Daniel. Daniel was there when his father Nebuchadnezzar was the king. He said, are you that Daniel, which are of the children of who? Captivity. He reminded him that you are a slave, you are a captive, you are a dunghill person. He said, are you that Daniel that belonged to the dunghill, that came from Judah, that was captured from Judah, whom the king my father brought out of Jewry? Are you that Jew that my father brought to this place? So you see how the king described him. Now something happened, brethren. That night, why the king needed Daniel was because as the king was enjoying in his house, a hand appeared and wrote something on his wall, and no person could read it. And he needed somebody to read it to him. So remember, what did the handwriting mean? It was handwriting of judgment. Why God was judging the king, he had a different agenda for Daniel. That's how God operates, brethren. While he is dealing with the enemies, he's also planning how to lift his children. You see the description of the king. He said captive. How to make Daniel not to be captive anymore. How to turn Daniel to that person that will go from the dunghill to be sitting with the king on the throne. So Daniel did what he has to do. Look at Daniel chapter 2. Look at chapter 2. Look at verse 46. Daniel chapter 2 verse 46. Because during the time of Nebuchadnezzar, similar things happened. And Daniel was able to resolve it by the Spirit of God upon him. Look at what happened in verse 46. Then the king Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face. Do you remember the prophecy of Isaiah that we just read now? That kings will be your nursing father, and they will come and fall on your feet and lick up the dust of your feet. A whole Nebuchadnezzar of all people, brethren. That was the greatest kingdom on earth that time. To fall on his face before who? From the dunghill. Before nobody. He fell on his face and did what? And worshipped Daniel. Not only that, look at what he said. And commanded that they should offer an oblation and sweet odor unto him. So they sacrificed to Daniel as a god. They turned him to a deity immediately. and sacrifice to him the way they will sacrifice to the idols. Say they should make oblation and sweet odor. Verse 47. The king answered unto Daniel and said, of a truth it is that your God is the God of gods and the Lord of kings and a revealer of secrets. Seeing thou couldst reveal this secret, then the king made Daniel who? A great man. You see the transportation, you see the shift, see the upliftment, see the move, the dunghill to where? Great man. And gave him many great gifts and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon. Has Daniel not turned to council of elders now? That will be sitting in the council meeting. So he made him to be one of the rulers and chief of the governors. So all the governors of the land, he became their head. Over all the wise men of Babylon, verse 49. Then Daniel requested of the king. Daniel said, it's not only me, wise. You know what God is going to do for us, brethren? As God begins to lift us one by one, you will not forget the rest people. As God pull you up, you quickly remind God, my brethren also were together in the dunghill. Please don't leave them there. Pull them up also. So you see, Daniel now told the king, he said, I have other people that were together in the dunghill. Shadrach is there, Meshach is there, Abednego is there. And now what happened to them? They promoted them also. They pulled them also out of the dunghill. They pulled them out of the dunghill. So this was supposed to be the time of trouble for Judah. God was not happy with Judah. God was punishing Judah. God sent them into captivity. And in the midst of that judgment, in the midst of that punishment, brethren, Daniel has turned to a big man. Daniel has turned to somebody very great, not ordinary person. Look at Daniel chapter 6. Look at Daniel chapter 6. Look at verse 1. Because Daniel finished reigning with Nebuchadnezzar and also ruled along with his son before the Persians and the Medes came and took over. Look at verse 1. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 princes. King Darius appointed 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom. These are the people ruling the kingdom, because the king has no time to rule anybody. All the king does is banqueting, enjoying his life, that's all. Verse 2. And over these, there were 3 presidents. He appointed 120 princes and then 3 presidents to be over them, of whom Daniel was number 1, was first. So what, in other words, in the hierarchy of the kingdom, after Darius is Daniel. You remember where they picked Daniel from? From Dunghill, the next person to the king, that the princes might give account unto them. So all the princes, 120 of them, they will come and report to Daniel. Verse 3. Then this Daniel was preferred above the presidents and princes, because an excellent spirit was, all God needs to do is to put one spirit inside you, and that's all. Listen carefully to me, brethren. We are going to pray here today. God is going to put that spirit in you. Whether you do anything or not, the Spirit Himself, the Spirit of God that goes inside you, the Spirit Himself will refuse to be in the dunghill. The Spirit will say, I cannot belong to dunghill. It is the Spirit that will drag you to the top. So you can see, Daniel was preferred because of what? The Spirit of God inside him. Not that Daniel did anything special, but the Spirit of God. He was preferred above all of them because an excellent spirit was in him. And the king thought to set him over the whole realm from the dunghill. Look at verse 25. Look at verse 25. Then King Darius wrote unto all people and nations and languages that dwell in all the earth. We are still talking of kingdom. The thing has gone beyond kingdom. The thing has become the whole global affair now. Every language under this heaven. The king wrote to them. What did he write? Peace be multiplied unto you. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom men tremble and fear before the God of Daniel. People that are far away, like South America, like deep Asian countries, they will say, who is Daniel? Which God does he have? Because they've never heard about Daniel before. They don't know which God he has. They will say, who is this Daniel? He said they should tremble before the God of Daniel, for he is the living God and steadfast forever, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even unto the end. Verse 27, he delivereth. This is the account of a king that didn't serve God, though. Just he saw what he saw with his eyes. He said, this God of Daniel, he delivereth, he rescueth, and he worketh signs and wonder in heaven and on earth. Who has delivered Daniel from the power of the lions? Verse 28. So this Daniel did what? He prospered in the reign of Darius, and then in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. So that's about 4 kings now. Nebuchadnezzar, the son of Nebuchadnezzar, Darius, and Cyrus. And he was there and became like the kingmaker. From captivity, oh brethren, don't forget where he came from. From captivity, from bondage, from slavery, captured. That's the same thing God is going to do for you today. He's going to transform your life. Let's stand up on our feet. It is true, the world is under judgment. Humanity is going through punishment. But that is the right time for God to lift you up from whichever dunghill of life you might be, and put you on the throne and make you to sit in a prominent place where kings will see you and they will stand up. You see how Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face and worshiped Daniel and sacrificed unto him. Close your eyes and begin to talk to the Lord and say, my God and my Father, let me find favor before you today. Answer my prayer by fire in the name of Jesus. Holy Father, let me find favor before you today, Lord. Let me find favor before you today, my Father.
Thank you for watching. If this message blessed you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to join our growing community of faith. You've just listened to the sermon, but there are powerful prayers that follow. Due to social media rules and guidelines, the prayers have been removed from this video. However, you can access the full prayers and more life-changing resources by visiting www.pastorhillary.org or downloading our app, Diadem Media. If you're in the London area, we'd love to have you fellowship with us in person at 4 Pegamoid Road, N18 2NG. If you have any questions about this message, want counseling from Pastor Hillary, or wish to share your testimonies following the prayers, please leave a comment below and someone from our team will get in touch. Until next time, may God bless you abundantly and guide you in all your ways. Stay victorious.